Hello there, World of Tankers, and welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Blitz, and in today's video, I will be breaking into the Object 777 version 2 in World of Tanks Blitz. You can see it in front of you. This is on World of Tanks PC, a Tier 9 Russian heavy tank, and in Blitz it's going to be a Tier 10 Russian heavy. So Wargaming for some reason likes to make a lot of the Tier 9s in PC, Tier 10s in Blitz. We've seen that for the Concept 1B, we've seen that for the Stritzvong K, and now we're seeing it for this. As well, we've seen a vehicle that's a Tier 8, the 50TP prototype on PC is a Tier 9 in Blitz. So it doesn't surprise me that this is a Tier 10 as well, and yeah, we're going to be breaking into these statistics, the armor profile, and really everything there is to know about this vehicle in today's video. Two things I want to point out. First of all, Blitz Post for some reason does not put consumables and equipment provisions on this vehicle, so I can't really showcase the full extent of its DPM, hit points, or anything like that, but I do know how much of an effect food and gun rammer has Cali, so I'll still tell you the values, but the values you're looking at here are going to be without those provisions and equipment. Second of all, these statistics are most likely going to change by the time the tank is eventually released, as this vehicle hasn't even come into the game yet as in test, so keep that in mind. Now, when do I think this tank will be released? Probably within the next 3 months would be my guess. I can't imagine it would be anytime sooner, as we're having the Stritzvong K that'll most likely be coming out in 2 days in the Blitz Fair. It will be, not most likely, it will be coming out. So after that, this will be the next Tier 10 most likely released. But let's break into it. It's at 2,400 hit points. If you're running improved assembly, that's going to increase your hit points by about 150, 140, and you're going to have about 2,540-ish hit points, which will be pretty nice. I wouldn't suggest run armor on this vehicle, as it's not one of those tanks that is completely armor oriented. It's definitely more of a pseudo-heavy medium-ish playstyle. When it comes to the top speed, it goes 45 kilometers per hour forward. I'm actually going to move myself out of the frame here because I want to go over these statistics without me blocking it. So top speed, 45 kilometers per hour, and reverse of 12. Reverse is awful, like absolutely awful. I didn't think Wargaming was still making tanks that had really bad reverse speed, but it seems like they are. I personally think that 12 makes this tank very situationally poor. If you put yourself too aggressive, especially with that good top speed, you're going to regret it. Now, I should point out that while it looks like the tank has a really good top speed, it doesn't necessarily. For example, the Stritzvong K has a base power to weight of 17. This tank's base power to weight is 14.1. Now that means if you have it fully equipped with engine accelerator and everything else, you're probably going to get up to about an effective power to weight of maybe 15.5 with fuel as well, maybe 16. So it'll be okay on mobility, but it's nothing great. Especially we can see terrain crossing capacity is not good on this tank at all, 95, 87. So this vehicle is not going to be very fast. If you want my opinion, I think you'd be similar mobility to like a 60 TP, just a bit higher of a top speed. So not the most mobile of heavies, but not immobile either. And it makes sense that the power to weight's not amazing, as this vehicle weighs in at a whopping 69 tons. It is a very heavy vehicle. Look at that turret traverse rate, only 16 degrees base. That means even if you're running this tank fully equipped, it's only going to be about 23, 24 degrees a second. Very slow traverse. As well for the hull traverse, it's also pretty slow at 24.55. That means if you're running again engine accelerator, which is going to increase your traverse speed by about 2 degrees a second, plus you're also running fuel again, the tank's traverse is maybe going to get up to about 29, 30 degrees a second. It's not a very mobile tank, and it's definitely going to be more of a heavy than, oh, it's got a great top speed and I'm going to be driving it towards medium side. When it comes to damage per minute, this is where the vehicle seems a little bit too crispy. It has 2,925 base DPM. That means if you're running food, you're going to be able to get it up to about maybe 3,100. To put in a good comparison of DPM, if we were to pull out a vehicle like, let's say, the Object 260, which is a Russian Tier 10 heavy, I have this thing fully equipped and it has about 2,993 DPM with rammer on. And we can see that food adds about 128 base damage per minute. And that's for a vehicle that has similar DPM. So I can imagine that because this vehicle has a little bit higher base DPM, you're going to be sitting at around maybe 3,100-ish DPM, 3,150 250 DPM with just food on alone. And if you're adding on the other food as well, which is going to add another 50, that's another 3,000. So it'll be about 3,000, maybe 200-ish base DPM with just double food on. That is a lot of damage per minute. If you're running rammer, upwards of 3,400 DPM. So yeah, this tank is going to have insane damage per minute values. Now, would I suggest to run rammer? No. First of all, look at its standard pen. Incredibly poor. It fires AP at 250 mils of penetration. To show how poor that is, a vehicle like an Object 260 has, if we were to take a look at the penetration, 260 mils of standard pen and 273 with Cali, which is pretty average, but 250 is really bad standard pen. And what that means is that you really are not going to want to run this vehicle with rammer. It's gonna struggle to pen a lot of vehicles with standard. Premium's great, 340 is fantastic. That means if you're running Cali, it'll be 374. So definitely run Cali on this type of tank for the gun statistics we see. Average damage, very nice, 430. That means you're gonna be able to outtrade a lot of opponents, so not too bad at all, especially the HE is a bit beefier at 530. We can see the aiming time is pretty poor at 4.1 seconds, and same for the dispersion. However, again, if you're running food, that dispersion's gonna get quite a bit better. So probably about 0.317 at dispersion with food, and an aiming time of about 3.5 seconds fully equipped, maybe maybe only about 3 seconds. So I lied. Its aiming time and dispersion are actually going to be really good for a heavy, and gun depression is only 6 degrees. So from the base statistics we've taken a look at so far, what we can say is that the gun on the tank is really the strong suit. Like, it's got an absolutely amazing gun. Great DPM, it's got really good average damage, really good heat penetration, great aiming time, great dispersion, but the mobility aspects are not very good. Now we can see the frontal armor of this tank is about 260 on the turret, 240 on the hull, sides are 115, rear is 50. And we can take a look at that armor profile on Armor Inspector. Now we are looking at this tank from the PC version, so keep that in mind. This is not the Blitz version, so I just want to point out that the armor is probably going to be different in the Blitz version. But we can see the lower plate on PC is okay. You do need to realize that this isn't with shell normalization added on. So most vehicles are going to pen this lower plate at really any angle. It's just HE shells aren't going to pen you, but for the most part, yeah, its lower plate is not good. The upper plate is a super steep angle. I mean, you can see how well it's angled, so you're not going to pen the upper plate anywhere at all. I mean, you can see just how strong it is, so you're never going to pen this upper plate. Good luck with that. Yeah, so the upper plate is not a weak spot at all. Now this mid plate here as well, I should also point out, is weak. It's not just this lower plate. This entire mid plate here, all of this is weak as well. So basically any part here you can see that's flat from this part ranging down is going to be a weak spot. And judging that this tank only has 6 degrees of gun depression, it's not going to be the easiest feat hiding this, but once you do hide it, the turret is incredibly strong, as we can see. I mean, it ranges upwards of to 400, 500 mils thick. It's a very strong turret because of the fact that it's an angled turret. Now the roof is weak. You can see that on flat ground. This is a very weak roof. You're going to be able to pen that with a lot of heat shells. It's super weak. Same for this here. Super weak. Only about 260, 160 on these hatches. Not a strong tank at all there. So do keep that in mind. And I should also point out that this roof is only 51 millimeters thick. And what that means is that any tank with a 155 millimeter gun is going to be able to completely overmatch this tank on the roof due to 3 calibers rule. So a T110E4, T110E3, easy overmatches on that roof. Keep that in mind, especially a 183, it'll butter straight through that. So the armor is not amazing on the tank. When you're hull down, it's really good, but not amazing armor. Side armor wise, really strong. We can see here in a side scrape, its tracks are about 400 to, like super strong armor here, so you're not going to pen it at a side scrape at this angle. It does have some weak spots, but for the most part, that's really solid. The biggest weak spot I'd say is this right here when you're in a side scrape. If you can load heat, you'll pen this just about every time here, especially with Cali, and that'll definitely be a big weak spot. Sides overall, you can see it says about 116, 115, so it's a little bit weaker in Blitz as of right now, but not too much weaker. The rear of the tank, we got 73, so it's a bit weaker in Blitz again. It's at about 51, so I think the armor is going to be a bit worse in Blitz for the gun statistics, but I guess we're going to have to see. Overall, the vehicle seems incredibly powerful, and yeah, I guess we're gonna have to wait and see how it is in testing. But wow, I'm a little nervous to see this tank come into the game, because right now, at least statistically, if you want my opinion, this could change a lot of the Blitz meta for just how powerful it seems. But I'll see you in the next one. Let me know what you think. Bye-bye.